Hi, welcome back. This week I have an essay for you to read by Anna Lapay. She's an author, an environmentalist, and a strong advocate for improving the way we run our food industry in this country. Now, if you're wondering about the title of her essay, Not Lovin' It, she's poking fun at one of McDonald's slogans, which is, I'm lovin' it. Lapay is a harsh critic of the large corporations that control our food supply, and much of what she writes about is how we as consumers should reject what the food industry giants want us to believe about the food we eat and start educating ourselves, not only to make better choices for what we put in our mouths, but also to hold the food industry more accountable to public health in this country, which is not very good right now. I'll be having you read some other essays throughout the rest of the semester that are also about the food industry and how it relates to some of the issues we have regarding public health and the environment. But I think this essay about companies like McDonald's marketing to children is a good introduction to the bigger topic. Before we get started on the other assignments for this week, I want to mention something about the essay responses you've been turning in, especially the part on page 2 where I ask you to write a paragraph in your own words about the essay. Now make sure that you note at the top of the page it says evaluation and critical thinking. And the instructions read, let me know what you think about the essay. Do you agree or disagree with the author? Do you think the author provides enough supporting details to validate his or her claims? And if not, what's missing? Important note, write a minimum of 5 sentences. Now, some of you have been doing a good job with this, and some of you not so good. Some of you are just not writing enough sentences here, or you're not saying enough in the sentences that you do write. For example, here's a paragraph that's kind of similar to some of the evaluations I've been getting. I like the essay very much. I agree with the author. I think the author did a good job presenting information about the subject. It is well written and has many good points. I don't think there is anything I would change about what he said. Well, okay, that's 5 sentences all right, but does that paragraph really say anything? No, it says absolutely nothing. The paragraph could be talking about anything in the world. Now here's an example that's more similar to what you should be writing in these essay evaluations. This is something that would be worthy of an A+ grade, but I want you to at least have a rough idea of what you should be aiming for when you do these assignments. I enjoyed reading the Agarwal essay because it reminded me that learning can happen in other places besides a conventional classroom. As a first-year college student who also works full-time, I often run into scheduling conflicts when trying to register for classes on campus. I like the idea of online education because it makes it possible for me to complete some of my program requirements on my own time at my own pace. I understand what Agarwal is saying about MOOCs being judged unfairly when critics look only at the completion rates or the number of certificates awarded. I've often taken courses where I didn't think it was necessary to receive a certificate or even complete the course for that matter. I was there for the simple purpose of learning something new. Something I think Agarwal failed to mention in his essay is how MOOCs might affect the future job market. If employers were to hold as much respect for MOOCs as they do for an expensive BA or MBA diploma, could this change the way students think about college? Could it be possible in the future to get a quality education online for free? Now notice that this student has mentioned the author's name in the paragraph. She has related what the author is saying to her own situation, and she's pointed out that there are some other things the author could have talked about in regard to online education. So keep this in mind when you complete your next essay response. Try to add a little more information in your paragraph and do some critical thinking. In the other assignment for this week, we're going to be moving from writing paragraphs to writing complete essays. Now, we kind of started this process back in Module 4, where I had you create a title, an introduction, and a conclusion, but all based on someone else's essay. Now it's your turn to write the entire essay yourself. Let's start by taking a look at what an essay looks like. Now, an essay is similar to a paragraph. Paragraphs and essays both follow kind of the same pattern. There's a main point or a topic sentence that starts the paragraph, and then the second part is the supporting details to back that up. Paragraphs and essays use similar themes. For example, you can write an illustration paragraph or you can write an illustration essay. You could write a narration paragraph. Or you can write an entire essay that is based on the narration theme. You could write a process paragraph. Or you could write a process essay. How about an argument paragraph? Or an argument essay? But an essay has a few differences. First of all, a few different components. An essay begins with a title. It has an introduction. It has a body, which includes the paragraphs that you've been practicing writing over the last several weeks. And an essay has a conclusion. So how long should an essay be? Well, if you start adding up the sentences, let's consider a title to be 1 sentence, an introduction to be possibly 2 or 3 sentences. The body of your paragraph should be 3 to 4 paragraphs, and in each of those paragraphs, 5 to 7 sentences each. And then your conclusion, usually around 2 or 3 sentences. So you add this all together, and we're looking at somewhere between 20 and 30 sentences total. So this is a bit of a departure from the shorter assignments you've been doing in the past, where I've only asked you to write 1 paragraph. So in writing an essay, where's the best place to start? Well, I'm going to have you start by choosing a topic. Then I'll have you write a thesis, which is sometimes called a thesis statement. Then we'll write what's called a topic sentence, which you're already familiar with working on some of the paragraph exercises from the past few modules. Now, before we get started, I want to clarify some of the terms and make sure that we don't confuse certain words. For example, the word topic. Now, in the example of the Bill Gates essay that I had you read, before Bill Gates actually wrote his essay, he probably sat down and jotted down a sentence similar to this to describe what the topic of his essay might be, how computers can be used to help solve world problems. From that, I'm sure he sat down and also developed what you might call the thesis or the thesis statement. The power of creativity and intelligence can make the world a better place. Now, I want you to make sure that you don't confuse these words, topic and thesis, with a couple of other words that we've been using so far in this semester. For example, topic sentence. As you know, this is typically the first sentence of a paragraph that kind of starts the reader off with what you're going to talk about in that paragraph. So in the Bill Gates example, one of his topic sentences is, "I believe that computers are the most incredible tool," and he goes on to explain what he means. Now, don't get this confused with the word title. A title is not a topic, it's not a thesis, it's not a topic sentence. This is the title of your essay that you will add probably later on after you've developed some of your paragraphs. In the example of the Bill Gates essay, his title is Unleashing the Power of Creativity and Intelligence. And I suspect that Bill Gates probably came up with this title after he had finished writing his essay. So for this week, I'm going to have you choose a topic, write a thesis, and then write some topic sentences for possible paragraphs that you might want to include in your essay. Now let's talk a little bit about choosing a topic. Now a topic can be about anything you want: sports, science, politics, family, education, music, jobs, raising children, art. Choosing a topic is the easy part. Now, the more important component of an essay is writing a thesis. Let's take a look at the definition. A thesis is the main focus of your entire essay. A thesis is a sentence that you will include in your essay, usually at the beginning. So what does a thesis look like? Well, first let's take a look at a topic. And using the Bill Gates example, how computers can be used to help solve world problems. Now, one possible thesis for this topic could be the power of creativity and intelligence can make the world a better place. How about the topic quitting smoking? One possible thesis for this topic would be, I quit smoking not only for my health, but also to prove that I can break a bad habit. How about cats versus dogs? Cats make a better first pet because they are easier to care for than a dog. Or how about the topic working and going to college? One possible thesis for this topic could be, Although it's possible to work and attend college at the same time, doing well in both requires good time management skills. Now, here are a few common mistakes people make when writing a thesis. Making your thesis an announcement. Try to avoid writing a thesis that sounds like this. This essay will explain the reasons why young adults should watch what they eat. A better example would be, young adults should watch what they eat now to avoid health problems later in life. Another mistake people often make is to write their thesis too broad. For example, people should be more understanding of differences in culture. A pretty broad statement and a little too large for our purposes here. A better example might be, as a Southerner, I had a hard time understanding that some New Yorkers think slow speech is ignorant speech. So he's much more narrow and focused. Of course, on the other end, you can also write a thesis that's just too narrow. For example, my sister pays $40 a week for a special formula for her baby. It's very narrow. It'd be very difficult to write an entire essay based on that thesis statement. A better example would be, my sister had little idea what it would cost to care for a new baby. Of course, you could certainly write an entire essay on this subject alone. The third part in getting ready to write an essay is to write topic sentences. And as I mentioned before, these are the sentences that will start off each of the paragraphs in your essay. So what does a topic sentence look like? Well, let's look at the topic cats versus dogs and the thesis, cats make a better first pet because they are easier to care for than a dog. One possible topic sentence that you could write for one of the paragraphs in your essay is, cats don't have to be walked like dogs. From here, you could easily write 2 or 3 more sentences that explain why cats don't have to be walked like dogs. Or how about cats are more independent than dogs? You could certainly write 2 or 3 more sentences that talk about how cats are more independent. Or how about cats are generally more quiet than dogs? You could certainly write 2 or 3 more sentences based on that main idea. Here's another example from the Bill Gates essay with the topic, how computers can be used to help solve world problems, and with the thesis, the power of creativity and intelligence can make the world a better place. Now, one of the topic sentences in that essay is, when my friend Paul Allen and I started Microsoft, and then Bill Gates goes on to explain the relationship that he had with Paul Allen. Or how about computers have transformed how we learn, and then Bill Gates goes on in that paragraph to explain how computers relate to education. Another topic sentence that Bill Gates used, there are lots of other ways we can put our creativity to work. And he goes on to explain how computers can be used to solve some world problems like hunger and disease. Now, what I've provided in this module is a worksheet that you can use to help you develop a topic, write a thesis, and then write topic sentences for 4 different paragraphs that you might want to use in an essay. At the top of the worksheet, you'll find a place for writing a topic. For example, food industry targeting children in marketing campaigns. A possible thesis for this topic could be, junk food marketing to children happens in so many ways and in so many places that it's often beyond our control. Next, I'll have you write 4 topic sentences based on your thesis. These are sentences that you might be able to use at the beginning of 4 different paragraphs that you include in your essay. Here are a few topic sentences that I might use in my example. Marketing junk food and drink to kids is big business. Now, I could certainly write 2 or 3 more sentences to fill out that paragraph where all I talk about is how junk food is being marketed to kids. Even schools are no longer havens from marketing. Again, I could easily write 2 or 3 more sentences following this to fill out an entire paragraph where I talk about the food industry marketing within schools. McDonald's also has a long history of using charity as a form of marketing. Again, this is another good first sentence of a paragraph where I could go on and write 2 or 3 more sentences. Another topic sentence might be, to make matters worse, other corporations are taking McDonald's lead. Again, I would write 2 or 3 more sentences following this that talk about what corporations are doing, what McDonald's is doing. Now keep in mind that your thesis worksheet has 2 pages where I'm going to have you write 4 different topics, 4 different thesis statements, and then under each of the thesis statements, I'll have you develop 4 different topic sentences that you could use to start off a paragraph. Next week, I'll have another worksheet for you where we'll start building paragraphs based on those topic sentences. So for this week, I'll have you read the essay by Anna Lappé, complete the essay response worksheet. I'd like you to review Chapter 4 about developing essays, and then complete the thesis worksheet. Be sure and let me know if you have any questions about the assignments in this module, and I will plan to see you again next week. Thanks for watching.